Welcome to NoSo Countdown. We are in the top four, Marcus. Number four, the WWE Survivor Series from last year. The Bloodline versus the Brawling Brutes, KO and Sammy. We'll get into it. But Marcus, how are you doing, my man?
I'm great, Ryan. Thanks for having me on. Love the beard, by the way. It's a top all time look, man. But yeah, I'm happy to be here talking about Survivor Series War Games 2022. This match got a lot of people excited, including myself, about current day WWE. So I'm pumped to go over it with you because I know you're enthusiastic about the current day product as well.
Yes, I thought this was a culmination and a peak of many peaks within the storyline, as we'll get into. And I think that number four is fitting for this. And then perhaps we can maybe compare and contrast later on as we get into the nuts and the bolts of this list to see if we were maybe correct or maybe a little low or whatever. But for now, let's set the table on why we got here. All right, so as you know by now, Marcus, taking into consideration for this rankings, we went by cage match, Dave Meltzer, myself myself or Chad on the WCW side's rankings, and we kind of just listed them. We didn't really want to go back to back NXT, back to back WCW. We tried our best to kind of maneuver it a little bit, but overall, that's what kind of how we made the list. But overall, cage match, 8.23 out of 10. Dave Meltzer with 4.25. And me being the highest here on this at 4.75. Marcus, I'm not afraid to be high on it. I
Yeah.
know I might be. I tend to be a little high on the tribal chief. Some would say I'm Markish. I ain't mad at myself for it, but 4.75. Before we get into it, do you feel that I'm a little high? Do you agree with Meltzer where it's an all-time match, but just making it? And cage match has it or somewhere in between. What's your overall gut before we get into the nuts and the bolts?
I think as a match, I'm probably closer with you. I'm in like that 4.5 to 4.75 range, and usually I round up. That's just how I rate my matches. So of course mileage may vary, but for me, this is 4.75. I don't think it's quite 5 stars.
Yeah.
And I think some of that is just because of the way that WWE makes the wrestling, and I don't know if they can do a War Games that is going to be 5 stars with the expectations that kind of come with War Games.
Yeah.
But to counteract that, I will say this is probably the greatest story ever told in War Games.
That's my defense for it. And let's kind of get how we got to this story, right? So obviously it is Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Sami Zayn, Jimmy and Jay Uso versus Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Sheamus, Butch, and Ridge Holland. Let's start on the bloodline side of things because that's how this whole universe rolls, right? So the bloodline starts pretty much with the Usos and Roman Reigns. They run roughshod for over a year to 2 years. Solo Sikoa debuts at Clash of the Castle to cost Drew McIntyre the WWE Championship in his match with Roman, right? So that's how we get the Drew side of things. Sami Zayn, after losing the Jackass match, kind of is a joke, but he's really over. And previously to that, at the end of 2021, he won a battle royal to get a number one contendership to Roman Reigns and lost in 10 seconds. Had a little buddy friendship with Brock Lesnar and really started to organically get over, which rolled into the Jackass side of things here. And coming out of that, like I mentioned previously, he was just organically on fire. And the Bloodline backstage kind of took notice for that, looking for people to work with. And they kind of caught his eye, and he just fit like a glove. And after around May, June, early summer, he kind of found himself in the middle of this storyline with the Bloodline, trying to naming himself an honorary Uso, naming himself being affiliated without being affiliated before having an actual face-to-face with Roman Reigns around September, late summer of this time. And he was, ever since then, he was just, I felt that he, from a storyline aspect, he kind of gained favor of Roman on like a sarcastic, like chummy, like, look, let's bring in the nerd to the jock kind of table. Come sit with the cool kids so we can kind of make something to kind of bicker and make fun of. But
Mm.
organically, this motherfucker is over his shit. He's lovable. He's affable. He's not a heel anymore, even though he kind of acts like a heel in a way. He has heel behavior, but he is a full face baby face to the fans. Everyone loves him and adores him. Everyone's always loved and adored Sami Zayn, but it really comes to fruition here when he is really around the bloodline. And he brings out the best features in all of these guys. He breaks Jey Uso. He brings out silly Jimmy Uso in the best way, where it's just like Jimmy's kind of the first one to kind of accept him in like a jokingly way, where he's just like, he is like that guy who was kind of the joke of the bloodline, but then someone else is a joke, and then he's like, yeah, let's this motherfucker's a joke, like kind of like that vibe. And Steven, he breaks Solo in these segments. So it brings to a culmination of the Survivor Series where the night before, Jay catches Sammy with Kevin outside of a locker room, where Kevin was like, all right, hey, the joke's over, dude. Like, they're gonna fucking murder you pretty much. Like, you've got to see this coming. I'm your boy. We've been boys forever. Like, I know you're finally accepted with the cool tables. There's insecurities with you your whole life, Sami Zayn, and you're finally accepted. And I get it. It's cool. But they're going to fucking murder you in WarGames. So cut their head off before they cut yours off, type of thing, right? And that culminates into the matches we'll get into. But anyways, Jay sees that without Sammy seeing that. So it sets up two meetings here at the Survivor Series. One being with Jay and Roman, where it's like, man, I caught him red-handed last night. He's gonna fuck us. We can't trust this motherfucker. He's been clouding us the whole time. You know, whatever him and KO are up to, they're trying to break us. They're kind of trying to get into the middle of us and crack us. We can't do that. And then Roman gets fumed. He brings in Sammy, and he's pretty much lays it out on the table. And in such a beautiful way of writing it, Sammy tells him without Roman asking him, Jay has this war game advantage match. I didn't want to tell him because I want us to have advantage in the war games. So that's my reasoning for talking to Kevin and not telling you guys, because I wanted Jay to stay focused so we can get the advantage tonight and we can win this motherfucker pretty much, right? So it was just a super like stressful like moment for everyone, where it's like, are they going to even let this guy in the match, or are they going to kill him before they even get to the table, right? They're outside the door. Are they going to whack him, which is like the mafia movies? Are they going to whack him before they get inside the place to whack him? But they accept him, and they brings us here. On the other side of things, Kevin is organically involved with this, you know, Sami Zayn's best friends. And then Sheamus and the Brawling Brutes have kind of been feuding with the Usos a little bit. Sheamus and Drew are buddies. It just felt like they were the perfect glue kind of to throw into that babyface side of the War Games here. And that's kind of the crux of the Cliff Notes version of how we got to this match. Is there anything like you'd like to add there, or anything you'd like to highlight?
You kind of made a movie comparison, comparing this to a mob movie. I would like to relate it as it lines up with the beats of Mean Girls. This is just the testosterone. This is the testosterone filled version of Mean Girls. So, but yeah, man, great recap, and ready to get into the match.
All right, so we get into the War Games now. Marcus, the shark cages are great. We get the individual entrances from the babyface side of things, and they go in the shark cage with Butch starting off with the babyface, and then we get the bloodline, the theatrical entrances. It's beautiful, so on and so forth. Were you disappointed that Roman had black pants? Because instantly, I was there live, and I was just like, why does he have black? Everyone else is wearing red. I know the story comes out afterwards that was Roman's call. It was like, man, this red ain't working for me. But instantly, were you like, did that stick out like a sore thumb to you, like it did to me?
I kind of viewed it like a team captain thing. Almost like Brett at Survivor Series 93,
Okay.
wearing all pink, and the brothers are all wearing, pink, black with pink. So that was how I kind of viewed it. He's got the red glove and the red boots, so that's good enough for me.
I kind of wanted to see the red. I'm not gonna lie, even though they all had it on, but I don't know
I'm
why.
sure the promo photos are out there.
I got to see how bad he felt like he looked at him to get him. But anyways, I love that the right hand man Jay started for the bloodline team here. I just felt that it was perfect for Jay to start. He wants to prove to Roman he's kind of the one in the family that has the most upside still at the time, and he's the hothead, really. So really, he's got the Sammy stuff. You don't want to start with Solo, and Jay's kind of the most appealing guy to start there. I just really love that booking.
Yeah, this is a 10 out of 10, I think, as far as who could have started the match. Out of all the options, I think these are the two perfect guys on either side to get this thing started.
Yeah, and Butch, he's actually War Games WWE NXT kind of lifer. He seems to be in all of them. So
Mhm.
he's the veteran for the team. So that's smart for the baby faces for him to kind of grow up there. Smallest guy too, has the most endurance. Tough little bastard who loves to fight too. So perfect. 10 out of 10, like you said. And believe it or not, I love how they got into the cage. Of course, they're alone for 5 minutes before the first entrance starts, and the baby has the advantage here. But these guys didn't touch for the first 45 minutes, 45 seconds to a minute. Let the whole
Mhm.
arena sink in. And I just love how that set the table for the violence in the story we had coming upon us.
They cut that 5 minutes down to down to about 3:45.
Titan time, baby. But anyways, yeah, I love how that sunk in.
Yeah.
I liked Ridge coming out second. It's Butch's tag team partner. They would organically have the most chemistry together from a kayfabe standpoint, and it was a really honestly he's the 10th guy in this match. So getting him in third is a great way to early give him shine and credibility to build towards the match. I thought Ridge was perfect to come in third here.
Yeah, absolutely, a great spot, and he's still, gaining experience and still getting over with the WWE crowd, so it's a good chance to get him in a match that a lot of people are gonna be paying attention to for a long time.
Yeah, a great way to shine his strong attributes with the power moves and the stuff like that. So and I love the double team moves between him and Butch.
Yeah, that was a great call, getting them in there at the same time.
I will say though, an even better call. You anticipate Jimmy coming in next, right?
Mhm.
Roman's sitting in the chair, by the way, right? I love it. He's just like Jay's about to go, Roman stops. Jimmy's supposed to go, Roman stops him. No. Points at Sammy, sends Sammy. Sammy, you got to go earn that motherfucker's trust. You got to, he loves you. He's the one that down day one with you, but he ain't trusting you right now. Go save him. Go gain his trust. I love that story part of it, and it was just it culminated at the end. But I thought this was a 10 out of 10, as you would say, perfect time to kind of inject Sami Zayn into this match.
Yeah, kinda with WWE, they kinda like to take their time and really wait to pay off that storytelling, if they do end up paying it off, but in this case, they, like, violate that, and they put it at the front, so it was like, "Whoa, holy smokes," like, we're getting to the meat right now.
Absolutely, and it did a good job. He sacrificed himself plenty of times for Jay throughout the match, and it started early. And he saved Jay from these two from the brawling brutes, really taking
Mhm.
a toll on Jay for that 3 minutes that they were alone with him. Drew McIntyre out next for the baby face. Really just beat the shit out of Sammy, cleaned house, and got the advantages. Typical war games, got the advantages back for the baby face.
Yeah, and it's not like there's, a ton of fat to trim, in this match, so, like, you're gonna have a heavy hitter coming out as far as star power goes, whether it's Sheamus, McIntyre, or Owen, so, getting McIntyre in there at this point was like, "Oh, wow," like, it just kinda
This
raises the stakes.
this match, it put a really an explanation point on how loaded this match is.
Yeah, yep.
Yep, and then we got Jimmy Uso to kinda level it out on the star power side here, and, but still, the babyface kinda kept the advantages here. We just started getting a lot of super kicks, but that's the Usos. I'm not they're not the Young Bucks. I'm not mad when they come and bring the super kicks party so that, these guys are legit. They're not contrived. They know how to wrestle. It's not spot fest here, or move perfects, however you wanna put it. And then Kevin Owens, again, to the star power thing here. Kevin Owens in next, and we're really just building as we get into really embracing Roman coming, because that's when the War Games is going to start, and we start really getting into Titan time. And Titan time is the Royal Rumble intervals that are 90 seconds, not 2 minutes. You know what I mean? So they're starting to pace this up early, as they took their time early with the Brawling Brutes and Sammy and Jay. They took their time with they took their time with the intervals, and now they're kind of ramping it up here as KO comes in, dressed as Dusty Rhodes, mind you, in a way, and just kind of brings that Dusty Rhodes energy. He's got great fire, takes over everything, and then we get Solo Sokoa, and that motherfucker brings it. Samoan drops, starts flying, spiking people, and just really establishes his dominance here.
Yeah, I was
I'll start with
surprised
you.
with, how everybody sold for Solo entering the match, like, they treated him like a big deal, and you treat somebody like a big deal, and they hold up their end of the bargain, the audience is gonna eventually treat them like a big deal.
Yep. And then Sheamus is the last guy for the babyface team here. Do you think that was in hindsight? Do you think that was the right move? Do you think they should have went Drew or should have went KO instead of Sheamus late?
I was thinking about that, and then I thought back to the TV, and it kind of seemed like we were heading towards Sheamus and Roman,
Yeah.
to kind of, like, get this whole War Games thing started. Like if they had not done a War Games at the show, I would have thought it would have been Sheamus versus Roman. That seemed to be where things were going. So it made sense, and it seems like Roman had a lot of spoons in the pot going.
Mhm.
He's got the stuff with Drew, he's got forever beef with KO, and then this thing with Sheamus and the Brute. So um, yeah, it was a little surprising, but like I didn't hate it. I liked it.
Yeah, for sure. And then he's got his own family issues too. So,
Mm.
then finally the star of the whole thing, the ooh ah man, as some would say, the big dog, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns finally enters the ring, and business picks up. The war games have begun. Fuck, man, he just starts. I love how he goes in the ring and this just instantly helps up Jay. Jay started it. Jay's his right hand man. Jay is the one that he trusts the most, but Jay is the one that gives him the most, that gets his blood boiling the most. You know what I mean? He's your boy, but he's like your little cousin. He's a shit stirrer. He gets on your nerves, but he knows you can rely on him, type of thing. That's what they got here.
Mhm.
So Jay's been taking that licking all day, and Roman just goes and picks him up and lets him know it's all right. Daddy's home.
Yeah.
Like you said a little bit, it's a little contrived, these matches. The tables are set up. The competitors are bringing tables in, and we just really start getting into the meat of the potatoes of it. I believe Ridge is the first one kind of taken out by like combo moves he had. I don't recall it all, but Ridge is taken out. Uh, Butch is taken out. Drew has a really nice flurry here. He gets his moment with Roman. He gets a nice near fall, but it comes really down to the crux of it, where Sheamus is the hard hitting motherfucker, but the story lies with Kevin, right? So Sheamus is doing the work. Drew is the star, but it comes down to the story aspect with Kevin. Man, when Kevin hits him, we found out later they had real heat there, motherfucker. I guess he really ruptured an eardrum or he wrung his ear or some shit. But let me know. Roman, the professional that he is, returned that receipt right away in that match, whacking that motherfucker right back. So I
It's
think he
good for the
caught.
business.
I think he exactly good for business. I think he let him know he was a little snug, Chris Jericho, Shane McMahon style, right?
It's good to see in these matches too. Like, yeah, there's gonna be some contact, and there's gonna be some guys hitting hard. Sometimes with WWE, it becomes a little too much about the toys. The tables, the chairs, the kendo sticks, all those things. So it was good to see some hand-to-hand combat.
Of course, it's that part is contrived as they can't really get into the blood and the guts of the thing, but I think it gets a little wonky, and maybe that's why I didn't go full 5 on it, just because of the contrived goofiness of the tables and the concertos, the cans and all that stuff. I felt like that's like, let's replace that with men slapping meat, big boys
Yeah.
throwing
So-
bombs, and I understand wanting to do it, and structure wise, yeah, it kind of makes sense, but for me personally, let's throw some rights and lefts. Let's kick some motherfuckers. Let's set up the double team moves, the big moves. That cage is a structure that is violence. You know what I mean? You don't need to
Yep.
add
Yep.
not multiple, maybe one, maybe two, but I know the women really got punished for me with this. They rely on the weapons a lot. But we're
Mhm.
talking about the men's, and there was enough story here. And I understand you can't have blood, and if you want to add some blood to this, it would add to it. But I don't think that part of adding all the tables and the toys aspect and them calling it toys really gets it to the point there. It comes down to the after the hoo-ha with the fucking eardrum and all that stuff. It comes down to Kevin Owens finding himself in a spot where he has Roman Reigns dead to rights, right?
Mhm.
He hits him with the stunner and he has him. 1, 2, Sammy slides in and grabs the ref's arm. No 3 count. Sami Zayn portrays his best friend in War Games. He doesn't let him defeat the tribal chief, and he has the tribal chief's back just like he said he would. That's just like the build-up said it would. And he put the knife in his best friend's back. Now, Marcus, that was an epic moment in this match. What did you take away from it?
I just loved the major beats that these guys were able to hit. Um, even with all the action that was going on, even with 10 guys in the ring, man, when it was time to tell the story, when it was time to get to the meat and the potatoes, we got eaten, and the eating was good.
Mhm.
I was looking forward to it. I was looking forward to rewatching it and seeing was it as good as I remember it being. And yes, a resounding yes. It lived up to expectations. It lived up to what I had remembered. Just the timing, the storytelling, how they make you feel. Like we've seen Sammy and KO fight plenty of times, and it's a big part of their lore in WWE, who they are as characters. One can't exist without the other. And so the way that we had been building and building to building to like that Sammy and KO conflict, which was again we've seen a million times in WWE, but this time it felt different because they withheld it and was like, is Sammy really going to be the one to do this to Kevin? Even though we know Kevin would totally do it to Sammy. Is it, are they really going to let Roman Reigns and the Bloodline come between them? And so when Sammy grabs the ref, instead of breaking up the pin on Kevin, instead of hitting him with a weapon, instead of pulling him off, he makes contact with the referee, and like the anticipation just keeps building and building. And then you get to Kevin catching the super kick from Jay, and Kevin's got the sliders turned up to 99 in this match. Like he's just firing on all cylinders. And you get the low blow, and it's just the gasp. It's it's a gasp. It's a groan. It's everything I love about pro wrestling. Just such raw emotion and reaction from the crowd. Disappointment, also just being stunned. Excitement.
All of it.
All of it, man. We
it.
wanted to see it. It's what we wanted to see, but it was the journey of getting there.
So you talked about the finish. Let's go there. We had the low blow from Sammy. We had the super kicks from the Usos, and then Sammy and Roman gift Jay the big splash from the top and the pinfall win in WarGames as we splashes KO from the top after the super kick and the low blow, and he gets the 1, the 2, and the 3, and the Bloodline is victorious, and you're like, wow. The Bloodline victorious. They one by one took out the Brawling Brutes. They took out Drew, and KO had him, and then they took out KO, and they just did it, man. They worked together. The family worked as one, and they came together, and they won fucking WarGames, and it delivered as great story, and the violence was awesome, and it's just a culmination. I thought it was the peak. I thought it could perhaps be the peak, but it was the peak, and it was the branch off to each individual story as we get to here as we close. But let's finish WarGames here before we get to the aftermath. I just thought it was an emotional roller coaster. I didn't think it's overstated its welcome. Marcus, how long do you think this match was? Just a quick trivia.
I'm gonna go like 43 minutes.
38 minutes.
38. Okay.
And it didn't feel it. Like it just it grooved and it moved, and it just paced really well. It told a great story as we just went through it all. It really lived up to the hype and the anticipation within the build of the story, and it escalated and branched off so many other stories for up to all 10 of these guys in the match, circling and focused on Roman Reigns. It's just epic WWE storytelling, and this is at the WWE at its best. This is the heart of the Triple H push of him at the head of creative. Marcus, I just loved it. It lives up to the 4 3/4. The contrivedness of not being able to bleed in WarGames and too much weapons is why I didn't go the full Monty of the 5, and I really stuck to the 4 3/4, and I live up to it. I believe in the 4, and I stand by it because spoiler, I made the rankings.
I really like that they don't belabor the back end of the match. Like once the match beyond begins, or they call War Games proper. But once the match beyond begins, they didn't overstay their welcome. Comparing that to the NXT 2020 War Games I covered with our own Tim Taylor, where we saw the NXT, the Undisputed Era, taking on who they take on. I was trying to remember. Anyways, whoever they took on, the back end of the match just went way too long.
Yeah, that was
And they overserved the back end, and it was just like, all right, enough. Like this match gave us the 5-on-5 that you want to see. You want to see the spot where all 5 guys interact. And then they got to the storytelling. They got to the value.
Before we get out of here, just all that, all the violence, all the story, all of the everything that we had in the bell to bell, the moment of the night, the biggest pop of the night was Jey Uso walking up to his boy Sammy, pushing them and fucking loving them up. And it's like they had that, we just scored the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl fucking vibe and celebration. I know you've won a Super Bowl lately. I've won 6. You won 2. So you get that feeling of that
Sure
rejoicing.
do.
You can see the excitement in my voice now. We had a bowl game this weekend at high school, so I'm a little fired up, and I appreciate it right now. But motherfucker, these got the embrace of we just scored the fucking touchdown to win the Super Bowl, and they're loving and hugging, and just that vibrant sports-like energy mixed with this WWE sports entertainment peak excellence right there with that hug.
Yeah, man. They delivered a great match, great storytelling, great moment, great reaction, and an authentic reaction coming from the crowd. And then as a performer, you just knocked it out of the park. Like
Yeah.
you just delivered an all-time segment.
So there was that vibrance and that excitement was definitely organic and easy for them to pull off because they literally just hit a home run. So Marcus, as I'm out of here, I'm fired up. I think my vibrance and my energy paid due. I think I lived up to the build and the excitement of this hype. I don't know about you, but as we get out of here, coming out of here, we had the elimination, the Royal Rumble, where this escalated and the bloodline started to crumble. From that crumbling led to Sammy coming up short at WarGame at the Elimination Chamber, which led to Sammy and KO defeating the Bloodline or the Usos at WrestleMania, which started the crack in the Bloodline, which led to Jay versus Roman, the Usos versus the Solo and Roman. Just so much came out of this War Games. And this, do you think this was the peak, or do you think Montreal was the peak? Do you think Royal Rumble was the peak, or do you think they're all just fucking awesome?
You're on a really good, yeah, I think from this match to Royal Rumble, I would say
Yeah.
it's one long peak.
Yeah.
And it might even, you can probably extend that peak to
The
maybe
entrance,
until
Sami
the
Zayn.
last 3 minutes of that Elimination Chamber main event. Because I think there were some serious missteps there, just with the booking, not with who won or lost, but just in how they got there. But for what it was a really enjoyable stretch of WWE television and storytelling from November to February.
Yeah, sure. And honestly, it's not over. They can always go down that, they can go down that path. They fumbled a little bit at SummerSlam. This is a little hairy towards SummerSlam, but I'm curious what they got first coming up this Sunday. Or this Saturday at the Survivor Series, where we got about half of these competitors looking at us right here, or in this match with Sammy and Jay on the same side of the babyface side this time. So we'll see where that lays. But Marcus, as we get out of here, any last words for the War Games before you plug your stuff?
I'm looking forward to finding out who's number 3, number 2, number 1. And you can catch me right here on the North-South Connection with WWE War along with JT, and also after every major WWE Premium Live event and AEW pay-per-view with our own Tim Taylor over on Viewer's Choice Podcast. And Ryan, thanks for making the hot tag into me, and appreciate it.
Awesome, Marcus. Well, it was good to catch up with you, pal. And I'm sure I'll see you again, Marcus.